This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For March 22nd, 2024, it's the best-sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. Broadcasting live to tape from coast to coast, easternmost and westernmost, northernmost to southernmost, gate post to hitching post. I'm your local host who can boast the most milquetoast and utmost humility. I'm Chris Decker. Time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure. And let's say hello to today's panel of AV SuperFriends by pushing this one. Today I'm joined by a National Optimization Administrator from Kansas City, Jamie Reinhardt.
Hi there.
We're also joined by a corporate quality designer, good gravy, from Corvallis, Oregon, Marc Kolwazinski.
Hello, we can do it better.
I'm not really sure what that means. Also joined by an internal functionality orchestrator from Greensboro, North Carolina, Larry Darling.
IFO. I like it.
All right. And finally, a legacy implementation vice president from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Justin Rexing.
Do y'all know what time it is? It's March. And you got me sitting here talking to you all assholes while we're trying to watch basketball games. This is ridiculous.
Yes. Good. That's not going to go well on today's episode of The Dating Game. So.
Go Toppers. We're down by 5 right now, watching the Hilltoppers.
All right, so on today's show, we're going to discuss part 27, which we think is the final part of our 97-part series on.
That's how many tiers March.
AV stratified systems.
Tiers of tears.
We're also going to discuss the challenges of dealing with consumer equipment. But first, let's do the news. And we don't have news today. So instead, here's this thing.
No news.
Which we'll just classify as a swing and a miss. So, Jamie, what the hell is this? You're the one who brought it up.
I know I brought it up, and I regret every minute of it now.
All right.
This is what happens when we're grasping. We're grasping.
So I stumbled upon this press release for this product announcement, which is not really news, but we're bored today. So it's the new Mevo camera from Logitech. And why I stumbled upon it, I was looking for a small box cam that had a real interchangeable lens, not the stupid security camera interchangeable lenses. And I don't want 130 degree views on every camera. For God's sakes, let me change it. But I couldn't find anything, and this pops up. And I thought, well, this is really interesting. Micro Four Thirds, a real imaging chip, and Logitech ruined it. It's not built for us.
How did they ruin it?
It's not built for it. It's built for streamers to go into their Mevo thing, and it's all wireless internet to go back to their control app that captures it all. It's a pretty slick system for churches, schools, streamers. It is slick. It is slick, but it is. They have come up with a really cool product that is absolutely useless in most of our scenarios.
You know, I'm
real connectors. I think that's what pisses me off. There's no network connector. There's no SDI connector.
There's no one real connector on there. It's the SRT stream connector to me.
Yeah, as long as it's on Wi-Fi.
To me, using this in more of a broadcast scenario, it's actually a clever little camera where I can use it for like a scoreboard camera, a snoop camera, or like a basket shot, like that kind of thing, because I do like using SRT and little hard to reach spaces like that where you can kind of mount it up there and use that. But that's more of the broadcast environment, not necessarily the classroom.
Well, I agreed. That's one of the things that I'm glad you said, that SRT and NDI native right out the back of it. But to get a plugged in network cord, you have to have the little adapter, which is a USB-C adapter. And I'm like, so we put the cheapest ass thing to, and no PoE. It's battery only. Good luck.
No, it powers by USB-C.
So
it's led me to believe. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's got batteries?
I wanted to talk. Yeah. I wanted to talk about
6-hour battery or power via USB-C.
I wanted to talk about it merely because it is on the surface everything that a lot of us want. and they ruined it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I mean, I think that's why I wanted to talk about it too, is because it's like a lot of products we see recently, the manufacturer gets it so close and then drops the ball in the actual use case that would help us. Like there is a use case for it. It's just not ours.
I was curious about that. How does that 3 microphone array actually sound with noise cancellation? I don't know. Like it could be something to be clever on your desk if it is the streaming thing where it's folks in their offices. Could it be of value for like a whatever higher end / administrator's office that it's doing kind of presentations to C-suite folks? Maybe it is useful.
Yeah, maybe it's a webcam.
Yeah, using Logitech software, which is really. I mean, I looked at the Blackmagic has one that's similar, but they piss me off because it's all the micro connections, micro SDI, micro HDMI, micro. I'm like, Jesus, just give us real ports.
Marshall has one similar that I've used in the past, and it's okay, but this one looks like it's better and cheaper.
There's value in small box camera.
Yes.
There's not value in overly small ports on said box camera. Is that what you're saying?
I think at least have a standard size ports on some of them, and I want real lenses. That's truly what I'm after here. Is a box cam that I can put a real lens on. And when you install, like I can go get the small Sony DSLRs, or I know Panasonic and Sony both have, but they're the cinema grade. Okay, that's if I'm spending $6,000 in a classroom,
just leave that piece of glass up there. Nobody will touch it.
No.
But if you use some of these other ones, they're primed for theft. Right, because they work great, but they're not for putting in.
You're not going to leave that up there.
And so I just want something a little bit more robust and real lenses, like Larry, like you said, the Marshall one, but it uses security lens.
Yep,
it uses that C mount, and the math is all stupid on it. I just don't.
I've used those kind of as wide static shots in the front of classrooms, but yeah, I'm not a fan of like the octopus crazy cable coming out of the side of it and stashing that thing wherever it goes. So. Whatever.
Yeah, I know. I did see it. I did think it was worth talking about. I do want to give manufacturers a chance to say, oh, yeah, that's version 2, or get the Pro version something, but so close.
So Logitech ruined something else is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm sure that, I don't know.
I think we're going to see a lot of that stuff. I think you're going to see a lot of peripheral I/O defined as USB-C breakaway. For a lot of things. I think it's just a natural, it's easy to get that form factor, throw it on there, and hey, you just have this giant widget you plugged into the side that's bigger than the unit itself.
I think we should be thanking them for using USB-C and not some proprietary connector.
True. There is that.
Well, way to put some positivity in there, Chris.
They figured they can use the USB-C for the adapter because they've already given you the bloat software to run it. So
Jamie, if this on paper, this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
If this same camera was available with, an array of standard connections, it's got an RJ45 or it's got a HDMI or an SDI on the back, whatever it is, would that, at that point, it sounds like it would probably be worth, and I guess not requiring the software to actually drive it, then it sounds like it might be a potential solution.
It fits exactly what I need today. Even if it just had the RJ45 and had PoE power and the NDI SRT right off the back of it, it fits what I need today.
Yep.
I have just a situation, and in fact, I could probably find a lot more situations to Mark's point. I mean, these little box ones you can tuck in to some displays. Anyway, you can tuck them in nice places.
Just that with one Cat 5 connector on it. If it was PoE and just an SRT, I would be all in.
And then it would break out to USB-C from there.
In most of my classrooms, I don't put PTZ. I put a box cam, and so this would be a better version of what I put out there.
Okay, well, Jamie, we ordered a pallet of them, so
yep.
Oh well, free's not bad.
Yeah, we'll see how you can get those deployed.
Oh, here I come to bill for it too.
Here I come. Wow,
Justin's got
we'll get you that invoice.
Yeah.
All right, well let's close out our news, and we'll talk about which types of rooms we're going to put this thing into.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. So, part 243 of this ongoing. I don't know. Actually, I do not know where we are in this.
It's a saga.
I think this is part 5. And Mark earlier today said, and after this, we're done. And I pointed out, well, we're still only just now getting to his standard classrooms.
Kiddo parts level 9. Go. Kiddo parts level 9. Go.
So I think all of us are in, with the exception of Mark, are we all in like full on? These are all custom designed, whatever weird oddball outlying spaces at this point. Is that right?
Other. Yes.
Other.
We'll go there.
In the other bucket.
We'll call it the other.
But for you though,
Yes.
Mark, you're still in the, this is standard stuff, right?
Well, the last episode, if you recall.
Because you kept saying in the last
there.
episode that you have still stuff to save for this next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the other bucket for sure, right? The last standard you all agreed on was close-ish. It straddled between 3 and 4 for me. So this is now 5. So we're jumping. Not okay with that. I'm okay because I've lost track of all of it.
Yeah, we need a matrix on this and how do these line up.
Remember, you guys were in negative world. I was in positive world, so I'm trying to convert, and I can't.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to introduce my new Type 0 Light Basic.
Yes.
A.
End of life legacy.
Mini.
End of life legacy asterisk still supported.
beta end of life.
I think everybody else had reached the this is a normal classroom, and Mark was still in like that's like tier 7.
Yeah.
So Mark,
I don't
what's a
even have a
normal
picture.
classroom?
Because we were like in small button panel world, single display. I started off with having some AV over IP in there.
You had
and
sound.
And I had sound.
Yeah.
And then, but we didn't have a lectern. Or so we didn't have a rack location.
Didn't have a lectern?
We just had a lectern. When I get to the next iteration, it becomes the full-fledged, here's a rack, here's all the stuff, all the ADA, and probably a touch panel. And it can do multiple displays, right?
Not some of the ADA, but
all of
the
it.
ADA.
And now it does all the accoutrement we've grown accustomed to having in a normalized classroom environment. That's my type 4. And then I'm into the everything else bucket, like you all are.
You know, if you would have said kid of parts there, Mark, you would have said all your
I haven't had to
words.
say it the last 4 episodes. You guys have said it all for me, which has been
You
fantastic.
said accoutrements, you said all of that. You just missed out
just
on
reading
the
show
bingo.
titles
So
at
I
this
had the
point.
bingo.
Anyways,
So yeah, I'm now, we're here. We are in the bucket of other fun and pain. So
bucket of pain. Let's go.
get in. So is this everything else? Is that where we are?
I guess so. I mean, I'm still surprised that
got
you
time
went
to fill here, man. Come on.
barely functioning room, like you don't even have a rack. You just have like barely sound. To now you get a touch panel, you get a full ADA, like everything is there. It's like
So you want to do a recap real quick? Is that where we're at?
Just play.
it
Do
was
you want
a
me to
big
just
jump, like all of a sudden, boom.
Larry,
there.
let me just play the last episode. We'll just do that, okay? With that
Yeah, let's wait.
Okay.
And then we'll get that out of the way. Okay, so now
hold
that
on,
we've
let me
come
play
back from
last
that-
week's episode. We'll just start into this. We'll just let it go. So,
So
Little mystery science
we
theater.
were into
3000 here.
the light style classroom, and now I've gone into like the larger, more normal classroom. And
more normal.
So what's a more normal then? Tier 4?
type 4.
So the majority of your rooms are 4.
3s and 4s. That's where they're at.
like how he
That's
says
when you
yes
get
and then
into
immediately
full-
contradicts
What was the
himself.
Yes, 3 and
No, you're asking me the majority of my rooms. The majority is a mixture of 3s and 4s.
You know what else is a majority of your rooms? 1, 2, 3, and 4 is a majority of your rooms.
All right, you're not wrong. So yes, I would say the type 4 room for me is what we would say is the full on.
That's the full
general
meal deal.
purpose.
Every
It's the
possible
full meal.
option that you could think of for what we would consider a common classroom space. It's got
common
all the
classroom, yes.
options. It's got all the
None of
features.
it's scaled down. None of it's
Okay.
like it's all of the stuff.
Is there physical media?
No,
Why is there a touch
What?
panel?
For transport controls.
for camera
Larry.
controls.
But I
you're
thought
switching off
we had
cameras.
discussed that you only do presets for those, so you could still technically.
In the larger rooms, we have the ability to have multiple cameras,
Okay.
switching presets between them. Then you have different sets of projectors and or displays, and you're switching between those.
What if you did 2 button panels?
Yeah.
You
This
can do
one
that.
I know
Yeah,
you
let's
can do that, Justin, because I've done that.
323 in there. Let's put some 323 in there and bring that in, and we'll jump in there. So
I think we've
yeah,
all
you
done that in
went
years
from-
past,
yeah.
where you have the button panel with the expander kit and the
Years
secondary
past,
button
I
panel.
did that shit last week. What are you talking about?
I keep forgetting.
Years past.
I apologize.
What is this, X-Men? No, I do double, triple button panels. Like
Stacked up on one another.
Like if they're really poor, I'm like, dude, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I got to do 2 button panels here.
I just see like the old like Star Trek scenario where you just have buttons and things all strewn across a control surface,
Flashing and blinking.
T-bar
blinking.
switchers
Like an
and stuff.
airplane.
Yeah.
Whack-a-mole like Jamie.
Okay, so are we all anywhere remotely on the same page yet? Have we got there?
I'm at a touch panel at level 4 too.
Oh.
Also, level 4 also.
Wait, you don't even have buckets. You told me it was just like one, and that was it.
One and everything else.
I have imaginary buckets, and then it's reality of my other bucket.
Aspirational buckets is what we're talking
Like I
about.
have
here,
in my
yeah.
head what my level 1 through 5 is, but
you are
ever
inching and clawing
transpires.
yourself up that Gartner curve.
But it never transpires to reality. It's like I know what this should look like, but it always looks like a turd bucket, and it's like, well, I've got 3 button panels stuck together with duct tape now. No sound. Buttons cut off remotes. I don't know what I'm doing.
Is this all in the same room?
It's all the same.
It's all one room.
The user experience is
It's all
great.
one room.
Via composite video strewn up to the ceiling.
That's why we got other bucket.
Okay. So here we are. We've looked out over the abyss here. I feel like we've all gotten the bulk of our classrooms out of the way.
Have we really?
Let me check the list.
I don't know.
Chris, you have an exhaustive list there.
Yeah.
Well, so my
Chris is reading.
I am reading. I'm reading that.
His board. If you all could see it, he's got this really fine.
I think enough people have seen my whiteboard, which just has tons of stuff. Well,
Chris, I cannot believe your glasses are not thicker than what they are for you to read that damn board behind you.
It's a lot of words, dude.
And they're so tiny.
you know, you can walk closer to things, right, Justin?
Yeah, but you're not.
Not where I am now. It's on the other side of the office. So,
Well, what does that thing on the other side of your office say about your levels of rooms and your kit of parts?
what I was just pointing at was this part. I was checking.
So what does it say
Hold on.
for your next level up?
All right, so my top tier before we go into Custom Town.
No, rattle them off again, just real quick. Go. Start at the bottom of the bottom and just let's get through Custom Town. Just really quick recap. Go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but these are this is your type 4, my type B.
No, okay.
So right, 10-inch panel. I have a ceiling mic array in there. We've got two projectors are standard, or 2 displays of whatever type, depending on the size of the room. Both program speakers and distributed speakers for voice lift. Powered screens, though I really hate that. 2 cameras, potentially 3, depending on the size of the space. We are providing capability for UCC connections to BYOD devices, and ALS is installed standard, and that is the.
I got lots of
I
questions.
do
So
too.
hold on.
You said bad words in there.
All right, what bad words? Go.
Pause. So why did you say powered screen? In that, so like a powered screen dictates a level?
No, because at this level, they're getting all the bells and whistles, including motorized screens.
That's not
which
standard.
I don't
But
like.
why?
No, I'd put a manual screen in. You put
So why
$1,100? You put that on the wall. You pull it down. I don't care. It works all day long.
What?
you put electrical screens in based upon the size?
What?
You got all right. You got 2 different people asking me 2 different things.
You don't put electrical screens in just to put them in and increase your level of classroom.
I didn't say that.
Like, what are you saying?
Some people want to
For
have the
electric
no-touch
screens.
experience on their
Some
screens.
people like the fancy schmanciness of I walk in and wave my hand over the touch panel, sort of thing, and all the lights dim and the shades come down and
Automation.
screens come out of the
Automation,
ceiling, and these are all recessed, terrible screens. So I hate them.
So it's an experience. It's an experience thing.
At this
in that
tier,
level.
yes,
Okay. There we go.
yes.
We got there. All right.
That finally answered my
So this is
question.
that was your what type of room now?
This is where I have problems because I'm only at B. but
Who you all were like
but yes, there are
Jumping on
5
here
things
early
prior
on?
to that. So yeah,
5 things prior to this?
Your tiers cannot have tiers.
I also like to. We already talked about this. We're just rehashing now. I am hexadecimal, so I use numbers and letters. It's all a mess.
Okay. So you said that was like your 4-ish, but you had 5 things prior to this.
I don't know.
Just going on the record. We're not going to dwell on that.
Do you want me to bring up that same list I got of 14 different types of rooms? Because I'll do it.
No, I just want us all to reflect on the one who was being harped on about having too many classifications at the beginning of the show.
I openly said multiple times that I'm using this as an opportunity to rethink how I'm stratifying things, because I started with A and B and then had to wedge things in between those two, causing problems.
Okay, the powered screen was one of my questions.
All right,
the other question was that you support bring your own devices in these for UCC.
I support the
No, you don't. Don't do that.
I support the capability for UCC for BYOD devices if requested, and not a single person has requested yet, but the device or the connection is there.
Is it a hardware widget that enables said service?
So you haven't done it, so you actually don't do
This is
it.
like
Yes.
a tree in the forest, isn't it?
Yes, but it is not a hardware device that is not doing other things. Does that answer that question?
Are you physically switching a cable infrastructure?
Nope. I'm doing it correctly by having the streams re-encoded and giving me USB at multiple locations.
Okay.
There is no switching
I wanted to
going
tease
on.
that out, people. I wanted to tease it out because people will do it the incorrect way, thinking, "Oh, I just put this USB switcher in, everything's
I
great."
put a USB switcher in,
USB
I hit the
switcher.
button and it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Call the help desk.
USB hub.
I
You don't put
USB
switches
hub
in, you
everywhere,
put USB
yes.
hubs in.
So what was the deciding factor in deciding to do that? Because I've never had that request, and I just
Neither
say
have I.
I put the computer in there, and therefore that is the box you
your
use
service delivery. Yeah.
to stream with.
Because the device that I'm using to do that is a QSys touch panel, and it has it frickin' built in, and I will enable it when someone requests it.
Okay.
And no one has yet requested it so far. But the minute it does, light it up.
I put that capability where I have spaces that have.
That sounds like a licensing thing.
It is. Boy, is it.
It's a bastard of a license. It's easier just to buy the hardware.
I know.
I got so mad about that. Anyway,
Okay.
I do that in
I'm-
spaces where I have a lot of visiting instructors, Larry.
I'm
So
doing
if
that nowhere.
Yeah, I'm not. Like I said,
doing
I'm
that
not doing it.
Yeah.
where I have places where they may not have university credentials, or they're on a government laptop and they can only use their whatever
Sure,
their
yeah.
secret thing is, and now they can walk in and just plug in the alternate USB and go. So
I'm waiting for that use case to come up. But I have, by the end of this summer, I will have 65 spaces capable of that, and not a single request for it. But it also doesn't cost me anything else to use the device that has that connection. So
I gotcha.
That's my thing. It was like a
Yep.
$300 add-on, and I was able to do it. So it really didn't.
No.
But I've overbuilt anyway. We've already.
But yeah,
established.
to the point that is the tier at which I have pretty much every possible option is in the space. It's not always getting used or not always being implemented,
All
but
normal options. would be
all
in the
traditional,
space. Yes.
commonly used classroom bells and whistles.
Correct.
Before we get into, this is a weird auditorium, let me start designing stuff. So
Okay. Yeah, we will not be doing BYOD via cabled infrastructure here. I don't think we're going to go that route. Maybe we do, but I don't.
Until tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe somebody will come up with a way that makes it really cost effective and sweet for us. But
Like Teams?
yeah, we'll just go with join the session.
join
with
the
your
session
thing, which you-
wirelessly from your device. Yeah.
because that's cheap and easy.
By the way, I
they're
just
gonna
want to say to
come up
people
with a
out there
way.
listening, if you haven't had that conversation, because that capability, the connection, join the session has been around for, pre-COVID, like 5-6 years, whatever. If you haven't had that conversation with faculty, please make sure you are doing that and your support teams are doing that, because I have had that conversation with people teaching and they're like, what? Because they're used to holding up like their phone, aiming it at their laptop and crap. And I'm like, let me show you a quick workaround here. And it solves so many issues. So join the.
Do you have wireless presentation baked into that thing, Chris, or no?
No, wireless presentation can go to hell, and I mean that in the most.
So you have people two wires to their. Let's pretend I'm instructor, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming in here with my laptop. I want to host my thing from my bespoke conferencing service.
No.
And I want to wire in out of my MacBook Deluxe.
No.
And I want to actually project on here. Are we doing it?
So here's how I do it: use the computer
does
in
it.
the room like God intended to run the session, whether that's a computer or a dedicated room system appliance, whatever. Use the thing that's hardwired to the rest of the stuff to run the session. Use your device of your own choosing to connect to the wireless network and join the same session. Problem solved.
So why would I ever need the USB connection then that you're holding back from delivering?
That's my question too.
Okay, so it's not intentionally there. It's just in case maybe someday.
Exactly right. It is
Sounds
there
like a
because
manufacturer problem.
it's there because
is
it's
what it
included
sounds
at
like.
no cost. The hardware connection is
there is a cost.
the hardware connection is included at no cost, so it is there. And when the request comes up, we'll light it up. But I have yet to have that request.
Are you ready to support that?
Yes.
You are. Okay. All right.
So
ITSM. Let's do it.
And I'll be honest, the first place we installed that, in the president's office, in his conference room, because that's the sort of person, if the university president says, I want to do this, what am I going to say? No?
Well, I just wanted to make sure we got it right. So plug in there.
That said, the president's conference room also has an installed
Okay.
computer, as God intended, and that's what he uses. He logs into the installed computer, and things go fine. It's amazing how that
All
works.
So you have a rack in this thing, right? You have a little equipment module of sorts
Nope.
housing all this. No,
In the
It's a
lectern.
module.
It's in the lectern.
I don't get racks until I'm in lecture halls or oddball spaces. All this
Not
is like
even
in
like a little one next to the.
This is all in
lectern?
7
Y'all were
RU.
talking about these racks and lecterns. I was always thinking that a rack was a lectern and a lectern was a rack.
You are wrong, sir.
That's not a
Well, I
thing.
know literally that they're not the same, but for conversational purposes, I was assuming
Your
that we're all
conversation
talking
is
about
wrong.
the same thing. But apparently,
So that's
not.
part of this. So I use the.
So I'm sitting here thinking like no racks. Like where?
All right, so I'll explain how this works. I use the Computer Comforts Equipment Bay. What's it called? The Computer Comforts Power Lift Equipment Bay. Which
is a rack.
It's a 4 foot by 30 inch table. You know, it's a standard size teaching lectern. It goes up and down, height adjustable, all that cool stuff. It's on casters. Move it around, do what you want. I don't care. On the front side of that, I have Marc's favorite. I have a Kendall Howard 2RU that holds the PC and the PDU because there's the only two devices in a classroom that faculty need to get to. The computer's right there.
Rack stuff.
And there's power if they need to.
That sounds like rack stuff.
It is rack mountable, yes.
Yeah.
On the back in the equipment bay, I have two little mini 3RU rack cubes. So I have 6RU of rack space, but not a traditional standing rack that I can put stuff in the back that is in a little locked enclosure that my team can get to, but faculty don't need to get back there. So that holds all the rest of the stuff. So they're in a total of 8 RU of space, but not in an 8 RU single rack. I can run everything up to my super tippy top classrooms before we get into Custom Town without needing an equipment rack. So
Okay, fair enough. Fits in there, but you do have rackable locations for some of your rackable real estate.
there's three
somewhere.
locations of rackable real estate. Yes.
Okay, so you got it. All right. Any other? You did say 3 cameras at one point. I thought I heard.
I've had to do that recently.
stumble
Yes.
through. Yeah.
So I was planning 2 cameras, and then in some rooms, just because they're bigger and wider, but they don't qualify as lecture halls because they're just kind of oddly shaped, or they're they seat 65 people, but they're wide and narrow or shallow. I've been doing 3 cameras. 1 at the back for the instructor teaching area sort of thing, and then 2 on each side to just flank the students. And part of that comes down to the auto steering cameras that are picking up when people talk and we steer to look at them. If you pick one side or the other, that camera is now, 80, 90 feet away from someone, and it's hard to see who's actually doing it. And it's just not a great experience for people on the far side looking at students in the classroom. So for the not high cost to add a 3rd camera, a single cable to it, it's easy to do. Drop that in there. Fits right into the existing ecosystem. There's no additional support. It's easy to do. So yes, it's an added cost, but in those spaces where a 3rd camera makes sense, and I'm actually going back this summer and retrofitting some existing spaces that have only 2 and adding a 3rd, just to ensure you get nice shots of people, students in the audience in the classroom side of things. So.
And
3 cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you're allowing your instructors to pick and choose between those 3 cameras, and you have some presets allocated
Yes,
for them.
but these are all the auto steering cameras. They all work in concert and they switch automatically. So we have a button there that says automatic camera. They can turn that off and they can go to the presets, preset 1, 2, 3, 4 for each camera sort of thing. And if they go to the options page, they have our ever popular, here's your transport controls. God help you to go in and start steering stuff. No one ever does that. They just leave it on auto cameras.
Do you have any data on that options page usage?
No, we're not pulling metrics on that. It's very low usage. People leave them on auto because we get complaints when the auto camera stop auto cameraing, but they,
And what do you do when you get a complaint about an auto camera, not auto camera?
Somebody logs in and goes, weird. Let me just turn that off and back on again, re-enable that. It's working now. So, yeah. Every now and then, basically what happens is the data streams from the microphones, every now and then they just stop. It's happened, I'd say 4 or 5 times in the last year. And you log in, you basically you're basically jabbing the mic to wake up again. And it's like, oh, there I am. So, yeah.
Do you have students doing that?
No.
No, that's an advanced support. Okay.
That's a tech login.
Sends them in there with the big stick.
Yeah. Go in there with a broom and jab at this.
Yeah. Just pinata. Go find it. Okay. All right. I'm not far off from your Type 4-B 11 14.
I'm only up to B.
Dot -2. Yeah.
Section 4.
Honestly, we should
Yeah.
work on a collaborative document, release this, put it on the website of here's how all our tiers line up. So
that's going to be the worst document ever.
It's going to be awesome.
It'll be nice. We'll work on some type of visual version of this for you all.
Somehow Marc will have 5 different tiers, but they will span farther than all of ours.
Not my other bucket.
Be rich.
My other bucket spans all tiers.
In tier 4, I have classrooms, stadiums, and concert halls.
Yeah.
Somebody out there is probably saying, yeah, that sounds about right.
My concert hall's a lecture hall. What are you talking about? So,
yeah,
Monday
stadium,
through Friday.
Other bucket. Are we to the other? Have we gotten?
I
to the
think
big
we're in
abyss of
other
buckets at this
custom whatever stuff at this point, right?
Yeah.
point? Okay. Which is what? Everything else you can think of?
Everything else.
I think at this
Any
point,
odd derivative?
anything in this was going to be, let me sit down and start kind of working through design stuff, right?
Well, mine is any space that's designed around around a unique learning experience. So high flex, active learning, tech enhanced active learning, it's all that bucket that requires me to design, like Chris was saying, but requires a different user experience and learner experience.
Well, Larry, to that end, what about, or to that definition, what about, say, just a lecture hall that's just a big space that requires some additional engineering and design time?
That falls in there too,
Okay.
because it's a different experience for the learner.
So are you teasing out that you could have your quote unquote Type 4 normalized large classroom that may need some additional kit attached to it to actually get there, becomes bucket of other, right?
It kicks up to 5. And we have a 300-seat auditorium here, and that goes past my Type 4 just because of the amount of work it takes to get that size of projector in there and additional speakers. And it's just the labor involved in doing that is so much more than a standard room that I have to plan a unique solution for it.
Would the user experience be different though?
The instructor wouldn't. The instructor in that space, their experience is exactly the same. But I feel like the students, it is a different environment than a 24-seat classroom.
I'm just kind of thinking where that would fall in my infinite number of categories you guys have for me here. Because a basic auditorium would be like my Type 4, realistically.
And that's the other thing we really haven't discussed is what constitutes a bucket. I've always just created buckets based upon functionality, and Larry's creating buckets based upon how much labor something takes. I thought that was interesting. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just
no, I'm with you on that.
Because I could make a tier 2 auditorium and a tier 2 classroom.
Well, I think why the labor kicks into mind is when I first did this exercise of defining my classrooms, it came from a need for a budgetary exercise. I needed to come up with
That's where mine started.
a 8-year replacement cycle, and I could do my Type 1 through 4 and have a known cost that I could estimate with. But they wanted me to do all the other spaces, the $300,000 active learning huge monstrosity that we have on campus. And I'm like, I can't put that in a tiered bucket around the cost. And so that's where my tier 5 came from.
Larry, how many people does that giant
Larry
active
does
learning
it
room
based
seat?
upon money, and then Jamie does it based upon like for his registrar.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Right.
we identified that early on, that there was differences in how we were approaching the reasoning to doing this.
I exited out of the tier group because I was struggling with do I tier these as far as how support goes, or do I tier these as far as how the instructor perceives it? And this is exactly where we started getting into this weirdness, because an auditorium technically is to Mark's point, could be a tier 3 or Justin, but
it's just a big room.
But it didn't tell the instructor anything, and that's why I have like the digital classroom and hybrid high flex. That's a slash or either or kind of thing, and then I do have these others, and the others are large auditorium, musical space, divisible space, where we've now taken it and it tells the instructor and says, "Oh, this is different." Now, on the backside, on the support side, it also tells them, "Oh, well, I can't just go in there and stand on. Don't ever do this. Stand on the chair, OSHA violation, and turn on the projector." Right? They have to take a large ladder, or at least stack 2 chairs on top of each other to get to it.
A ladder on the 2 chairs, and then go
and then a stick.
Wild, yeah,
stick.
But this is where I started really struggling with it, because we started creating learning spaces that were more tailored to the speciality of the room, whether that was a media center or something. And this is where these fall into place for me. So it could be the screening room, which is a different experience than a laboratory, which has extra cameras and shit. But most of the other stuff is lumped into generic classroom things. But this is why I went to the nomenclature for the registrar, not the nomenclature for internal support use.
Right. And I think we all kind of looked at this a little bit differently, probably in the initial ask. And I'll be honest, like, this came out of budgetary reasonings.
Sure.
In its onset for us. It was a quick way to do back of the napkin math for capital projects and things like that, and a way that we could have our team have some saying, like, here's the things we're going to do the most. We're going to do a lot of different things, but here is that kit based on the technology configuration, less about the pedagogical kind of use and what was going on in there. Because I think that starts to get a bit out of our lane specifically. But the tools used to deliver the media experience were kind of kitted up for us that way.
Well, and you absolutely have to think about it let me rephrase. You have to consider that when thinking about these. That support side, that familiarity, that kit o partso there, because I see that here. We have the legacy gear. It's not end of life. It's very much still in play. But the legacy gear that's for the most part massively overbuilt, and it is always a troubleshooting joy to go in and deal with one of those versus some of the ones we've done in recent years, which from the teaching and learning side has the same experience. But from the support side, the technicians, the student techs, whoever's going in there is much more familiar, much more capable. Oh, I'll just check this, that, it's this thing again. There we go. Got it going again. Up we go. So that familiarity's there.
Untied shoelace. It's always an untied shoelace.
It makes perfect sense to do it that way, keeping in mind the budget. And the budget was where my kind of tierification started as well. Is like, well, what can we come up with? And I'll be brutally honest. I started with a number in mind. Like, can I get a full bells and whistles classroom at $20,000? And I pushed really hard for that.
Yes.
And the answer is yes, you can if you're willing to cut some corners. But that was where this was started. Is I came up with I started with a number and worked towards that, and then saw how that kind of built out and where I needed to cut or add or make options or whatever. So there's lots of ways to approach this, I suppose. Justin's way is best.
Start removing the rack first. Just
no racks, no
engineering. Take the rack out.
No racks, no speakers, no buttons.
Lectern.
No lecterns. Go.
Button panels with no buttons.
That's
the future.
They never fail.
Wall plate.
Buttonless button panels.
Called a wall plate cover.
Touchless.
Wall plate cover.
It's just a blank Decora plate. There's your button panel.
Yeah, there's your button panel.
Good luck.
Where are the buttons? That's extra. That's licensed.
You haven't earned that yet.
You didn't ask for buttons. You just said you wanted a button panel. So this is the panel that will hold the buttons when you purchase said buttons.
We spend it all on wall boxes. We have nothing left for technology.
Wall boxes.
All right. I don't think we'll dig into this topic again unless there's other.
Oh God, please no.
Unless somebody asks us a question via email.
Yeah,
and really wants us to dive into all the other.
Well, it did take us 3 years to get to this point. So,
and don't do it during March.
All right.
Well, so tell you what, let's just pivot here real quick, and we'll move over to talk about our last subject here on consumer-ish stuff that keeps showing up in our requests. These are always the why does this? It usually starts with why does that TV, not a monitor, why does that TV cost so much? I can just go buy one myself, sort of thing.
We've all had this ask.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or
we already bought this. We already bought this.
Well,
thing,
that's
so
my frustration is
and
we're saving you time because we've already bought the TV. I'm like, great, here we go. But how are we approaching these requests where that kind of is like, hey, I would like to do a conference room, and you're like, great, and I already bought the TV. Crap. So now you got to deal with that. I'll just say we did 1 week before last. I had it spec'd out and budgeted for 1 day of installation, which was fine until we got to the very end because we were using their supplied smart display and found that there was all sorts.
How smart was it?
Terrible, freaking terrible. But found that was causing all sorts of conflicts with the other devices in the room. It was causing driver conflicts and things like that when you're plugging it. It just was a pain in the butt. It was a full extra day, including time sitting on the support line trying to figure out how do we factory reset this to get it back to zero and see if we can. So it was an additional 6 full hours of labor on that one that they got billed for their we already bought the TV sort of thing. So
we just say no and don't.
Well, and that's where I am now, honestly, after that one.
Contractor to hang it.
Yeah, but it always creates that friction point, right? You want to be neighborly, you want to be able to deliver and get success, and often you're like, oh, hold my beer, I'll take that challenge and go and do it. But it will come back to haunt you at some point, whether it be your install schedule or some support thing down the road.
It's the support I'm worried about.
Yeah, exactly. At some point, you're going to pay for that decision of being helpful.
Have you ever walked into a meeting and they describe the exact solution they need and it's exactly like a consumer grade TV? I walked into a meeting and like, yeah, we're going to have a little area here for students to gather and, talk and, mingle and study. And we want a TV on the wall. We need it to show cable TV, but we also need it to be a fish aquarium when it's not active. And we want students to be able to cast to it wirelessly anything they want at any time. And I'm sitting there thinking how to do that in the commercial environment. I'm like, holy shit. Like, well, we're going to need this content engine. We're going to need this computer. I was like, I'm not even going to try. It's like, nope, you need a consumer grade TV. You all just go out and buy one and then have facilities hang it and we're out. We're done.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's how I handle that.
Streaming to a smart TV from their devices works.
Would you be on the hook to have to provide support for that?
Well, I would if I had installed it, but since we didn't install it, we don't have to worry about anything.
Well, that's the other part of the equation here is that often folks look at us as just a buying service, that when we do the buying, we all of a sudden admit that we are now responsible for support now. And so it's like, no. I'm not just a buying service of technology for you. I'm a solutions provider.
I've had people walk or send me stuff to get my approval because once I give them my approval, then ITS has deemed it appropriate. And then regardless of if I installed it or not, I have to help support it.
Yep.
I mean, it comes from a good space. They're
trying.
They think they're being heroes by going out on Amazon and going on an expedition and finding things and I'm saving money and therefore as long as you say yes, then we're in the clear. So go ahead and buy me this Apple TV.
So I had one about 6 months ago, I think, that they said we found this thing on Amazon. They said that and they sent me the link and it was some company I'd never heard of, but it is a touch enabled 55, 65 inch monitor, whatever sort of thing. What they like about it is, and again, they're thinking from a cost-saving standpoint. Oh, look, this has, I think it was Android. I think it has Android built in, so it's got an operating system. You can just wirelessly connect to it. And keep in mind, none of these things are actually possible, but this is how it's sold because they're just reading the listing on Amazon. Oh, and it's far cheaper than the other stuff we can do. It comes on a wheeled cart, so we can just move it around to different conference rooms. So now it's one system for all these different use cases. And I went back and forth with them and finally said, look, you can buy whatever you want, but if you buy that thing, you're on your own.
Don't call me.
Right. And I guarantee I'm still waiting. I don't know if they've purchased it yet. I suspect what they're doing is waiting for end of year funding and then they're just going to go buy it. We're going to get a call. And I've already had to tell my team on this thing. You're going to get, when we get a call from the space, walk away because we can't start just letting people go out and buy whatever thing they want. And then to your point, Mark, it's now a support drain because we have to go in and figure it out. And once we start touching it, we're supporting it. So it is a challenge because I want to make sure that the solutions in place are supportable and do what they want. But if they still run off and do their own thing, We're rewarding bad behavior at that point.
I'm sure there's people listening thinking, oh, no, the customer's always right, the client's always right, just deliver what they're asking for, but that does not scale correctly on the support side to just have to be all-encompassing and responsible for everything they're going to bring into the enterprise. It's just not the reality in which we live in. And so as we choose product to deliver solutions, it all has to be compatible with support ecosystem, and it has to be. That's why we're kind of going back to the original question: commercial versus consumer grade. There are features we are all looking forward to have, and much of the commercial has it, and the consumer doesn't. It's just not there.
Well, and I mentioned the other day we have a space in our student union where it's a meeting room and it's divisible and it needs some TLC, and they're fully on board with hey, let's find the funding for this and do it right. Oh, and hey, we already bought the 2 TVs, so we don't have to worry about that. And these are straight up no fooling TVs that they're Samsungs or LGs or something. They boot into that the Google TV home splash screen with all the options and whatnot. There are 0 control options on this thing for except IR, and good luck with that. But CEC maybe, but I'm not going to rely on it. But on Power Up, it doesn't remember the last input. It doesn't go to you. You have to every time it goes to that big main menu. And so it's like, I don't even want to go down the road of using these because now we're going to have to spend more time creating something that I know is not going to be reliable, whether it's CEC or IR for control, that we're going to get comments about, yeah, it works fine, except every now and then the right TV gets stuck on the menu. I'm like, this is a bad system. There's a bad thing to design a system around. So I am not going to include that, and I'm encouraging them to find other places they can use those, and they're going to have to buy the appropriate commercial monitors for this space so it works the way they want it to, because that's what's going to happen. They're going to say, we spent $40,000 on this system that you specified, and it doesn't work, and I have to point out, well, it's because you bought televisions and asked us to use them.
We bought TVs so we could spend more money on our furniture, Chris. Yeah. We need to get more elaborate furniture, and so that's where we put our money.
Well, there's a topic for another day, is the technology integrated in furniture.
Yes.
Don't.
It becomes more diplomatic. I think that's when people do that and they want to be helpful and they think they're saving the day. And let's face it, a lot of times to them, when you say, "Oh, this is $1,000, $2,000," that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
And they're not dealing with giant capital projects. They think they're like, "Oh, I got to be mindful." And their day jobs, they may be an office administrator. So you go out and throw a $20,000 bill, and they're like, "Jesus, that's more than I'll ever have." Like, I'm not going to do. They're never going to go for this, and that's not an enterprise approach, right? And so it's difficult sometimes to kind of get into the reasonings of why we need to have a certain level of capability in our solutions, and so it's a part of the gig. More TVs for everybody.
Less TVs for everybody. Because our TVs are too expensive.
More TVs.
Displays.
Definitely more TVs.
Yeah. What do you guys do for nomenclature on that? I mean, I like displays and monitors, but that often confuses people.
It depends on who I'm talking to is the answer to that question.
Exactly.
Never TV, though.
Yeah, trying to not start with TV. I do my best to pivot away from that.
But when you're talking with clients, they don't really understand display and sync and all the other shit we use. So
yeah, I probably don't use sync very often with clients.
No.
Oh, that's all I do. Just
like your sink.
Throw the kitchen sink at him.
It's like, God, this guy just kept talking about the damn sink.
I thought we were talking about plumbing the whole time. I have no idea
what's happening here.
These AV people are so stupid.
All right. Well,
have we? I think we dug a hole on that one.
We got it. Right. We got there. So
yeah, we definitely dug a hole.
Okay. Well,
Justin, what's going on?
Yeah, Justin, what's our score update?
What's the score? Where are we at?
We lost.
Who cares about the score?
I'm in a bad mood now.
You lost and you didn't even tell us in the middle of the show?
He got real quiet.
What am I
and
supposed
sad.
to do?
You're supposed to say we lost.
Like,
who cares about the score?
Cuss?
Did you win any money?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter who won and lost. It's about the money here. Come on.
I don't even know if we covered. I don't know if I covered yet or not. I think it was plus 14.5, maybe.
Updates later.
Maybe I won. I don't know.
Well, we'll check back later next time and see how Justin is doing on his gambling habits and how much he owes his bookie at this point.
Yeah.
The bookie owes me money.
Yes, that's exactly how it works. That's how they stay in business.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, till next time.
Go buy some TVs. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.